Welcome to Football Unspoken, the home of unique football takes. Right, Josh, so with the madness of the football world at the moment, we thought that maybe we could have a bit of madness ourselves and throw a little football extra out there, Football Unspoken extra. And we're going to talk about just the state of the manager market at the moment. And specifically, Josh, do you think this is the hardest era to be a manager in?
Definitely, because apparently winning matches isn't even a metric they care about anymore. Your owners or the people who run the club could be telling you 1 minute can you please stay? And you go, cool, I'll do you a solid, I'll stay. And then the very next week they call you and said you're fired. And we've seen multiple...
No, that's never happened. No one's seen that.
Yeah, so apparently there's multiple cases of managers being asked to stay and then being literally fired without a match being played in between. So it's not a results-based thing. And then there's other versions where managers are being fired and then asked to come back and the managers saying no themselves. And then the club has no manager. So it is a madness right now. I don't know if it's your favorite.
No, it's entirely ridiculous. For anyone who's not up to date, and I'd be surprised if you're not, but Xavi has obviously just been sacked after saying he's going to leave, Barcelona begging him to come back, and him going, yeah, I'm in, and then gets sacked anyway. Whereas as Tuchel at Bayern was told, you're going to be sacked, they started looking around, realized that there's no world-class managers anymore in the market. So Tuchel, do you want to stay? And he's gone, no, that's not acceptable. I think Tuchel's my favorite because you got to take a stance, man, because it's not even just those two. You look at Ten Hag the day before Manchester United played an FA Cup final. It's being released that he's not going to have a job. Pochettino finally gets it clicking at Chelsea. And they're calling it's ended by mutual consent, but let's be real. I mean, it's just a situation where the ownership doesn't want him anymore. And he's gone, right, I know when I'm not wanted. And then Vincent Kompany going to Bayern as well. It's just complete madness, and I think my favorite is definitely the Tuchel one. But I just think the leaks at the moment are just awful. No clubs you don't hear a club announcement anymore. You just find out on Twitter. That's how you find out that things are happening.
Yeah, I think Ten Hag found out from Romano that he was being fired, probably. Do you know what I mean? That was probably where he found out whether he has a job or not. So it's ridiculous. What's also interesting is you talk about it's hard to find a world-class manager right now. And I think some people were surprised when they saw, for example, Arne Slot coming to Liverpool. But when you look around the market and you're going, well, who else were they going to get, to be honest? It's just not that many good options right now. And I always wonder if some clubs, like who stuck with their manager, have just stuck with them because they didn't know who they're going to get instead. And you look, it was an interesting one you didn't mention, and there was De Zerbi going from Brighton as well, because I know he didn't have a great year with Brighton this year, but he could be someone moving up to one of the other clubs. Because what's surprising to me is you're hearing McKenna, I think, is mentioned as the favourite at the moment for the United job. And to me, that's almost the biggest madness. I think that's my favourite because, cool, he's done a fantastic job at Ipswich, totally overachieved, no question of a doubt. But that's in the Championship. So to send him off to Manchester United, that's just a suicide mission, to be honest. And that's not a hate on him. It's just, he's come from the Championship. You look at what Vincent Kompany did when he came from the Championship doing a very similar thing. I mean, he'd been rewarded with a Bayern contract. But McKenna going to United, it's like, no, guys, there's got to be some big ambition going on there. And I'll also say, firing Ten Hag before he's even played the FA Cup final kind of tells everyone what United are thinking is going to happen in that final, to be honest.
Yeah, I do agree on that. The other interesting thing about McKenna is he's already been part of the United coaching staff. He was there under Ollie, and he was like, he was apparently one of the worst culprits of the players' like unhappiness. Apparently, the players just didn't like him as a coach. And now, with a very similar group of players, you're going to bring him back in. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all, to be honest. I don't understand that even the thought of that appointment realistically. But then also on your like manager, the lack of world class managers, it's also a thing of these clubs kind of causing it. They're bringing in they bring a manager in. So, for example, Ollie's been brought in, and he was doing well enough at Man United, I think personally. But obviously, he's not winning Premier League, so he just gets sacked. Doesn't get a real opportunity. 5 seasons. The Arteta 5-6 seasons, and then you can start seeing something. And then it kind of then what happens? You get the old fallback of, okay, well, new guy comes in 2 seasons, doesn't work, out you go. We'll get Jose Mourinho back. We'll get Pochettino back. Graham Potter's another example at Chelsea. Yeah, he didn't do well at Chelsea. I'm not going to deny that. But a couple of months he was given. Like, it's not long enough to kind of put any stamp of authority onto a team. And these clubs just keep siphoning through their managers that no manager other than Pep and Klopp are getting enough time to even become an elite established manager. And so
you said that because I was going to ask the question I was going to ask you next is, once Pep goes from City, is that pretty much the end of long-term managers? You know what I mean? It feels like that's the end of the era where you have managers staying at clubs for longer than 5 years. I mean, so at the moment, 2 years seems like a good milestone.
I'm a bit yes and no. I feel like yes, because of this instant kind of need for a win. But I think what you're seeing in the manager market right now shows why it doesn't work. And I think eventually owners will cotton on to it. And I think the guys who might do it is once Pep goes, depending on if Arteta's still there, depending on how long Pep stays for. But if Pep goes and Arteta's still there, Arteta will win the Premier League. I think he'll win it while Pep's at City, to be honest. But I think Arteta will definitely win a Premier League if he's still around when Pep's gone. And then if Eddie Howe's still around, he's going to be pushing that as well. And if Arne Slot does well, Liverpool like to have a long-term manager. They've always liked a long-term manager, so I can't imagine them going. But I just think these big clubs have to wake up to the fact that you can't keep siphoning through managers. It's a kind of situation they've created, and I don't think it's the same thing with transfers. I don't think transfers can carry on at the rate they are. Same thing with the manager market; it can't carry on the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the transfers, that could be a whole podcast on its own in terms of predicting where that goes next, because I agree with you. That feels like a humongous bubble that just can't be sustained. Wages included in that, by the way, the wages and the transfers, because they go hand in hand. It feels like, buying a new car versus a second hand. They kind of trail each other closely.
Yeah. But it's been interesting. It's been great hearing your points and hearing your favorite manager madness at the moment. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What's your favorite manager madness at the moment? Where do you see the manager market going forward? And any other comments that you have, just leave us a like, leave us a comment. Please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, this has been Football Unspoken.